Okay, so first we'll solder on the resistors. It's good to make sure that the resistors aren't falling out, so you can bend the legs slightly so they don't fall out. Just trying to make contact with the pad and the component at the same time, so they both get heated. Okay, next what you want to do is put in the chip holders. So you can see that there's like a little half circle on the chip. This is the 14-hole one. You just match it up with the half circle on the board and then put some tape to hold it in, and then the best thing to do is solder a leg on each corner so that it holds it in flat, and make sure that they're flat. Okay, when you solder the chip legs, the chip holder legs I should say, just make sure that you don't glob them all together, so each one is just separate, they're not meant to be joined at all. Okay, next is the capacitors. Put the ceramic ones on first and these blue ones, just to make life easier. Do the ceramic ones first. If you're choosing a soldering iron, it's good to get the tip that's like the pointy cone shape, not the really skinny pointy one, just the regular pointy one rather than the flat one. It's a good idea to double check that all your components are in place before soldering them, because it's quite tricky to unsolder. Okay, once you check the components in the right place, then just solder them, making sure they're not going to fall out as with all of the components. Okay, the last bit is just the rest of the components. Just check all the knobs are in the right place, and then this thing falls out easily, so just kind of try it in somewhere or another to tape it on so that they're flat. Just when you're using the tape, just try not to burn the tape with a soldering iron. But most of the other components that went in there should fit in there. Those go in with the metal bit on the side there. And they only fit in that way anyway, and these clip in quite nicely, so they're all okay. That bit you might have to just watch that it doesn't come loose and go crooked, and then obviously the rest of the LEDs and the diode as well. Like, just make sure the legs are kind of bent a bit so that they stay in there. Because when all the components are at a different height, sometimes they fall out easier, so that's good to keep in mind. So yeah. Okay, next is the chips. Just make sure the half circle matches the half circle on the holder, and then just make sure all the legs are in properly. You might have to sort of flatten them against a table or something, and then before you push them in, just kind of make sure that they're all in, and you might need to just straighten it a bit. So some of the chips don't have the half circle, so with this one it's got the circle on the top left, so that's how you know. It can be a bit confusing because these ones with the half circle have a circle at their end, but you always go with the half circle. If the half circle's not there, you look for the circle on the left hand side, and that's all the chips in there now. So what you do now is you'd probably go through and check all the solder joints, make sure nothing's blobby, make sure nothing's dry, no dry joints, and just check that you didn't miss any. Like there, I've missed one, so I'll just go and solder that and just go through and check them all before testing. Okay, now it's time to test it, so make sure this is up. Plug this in, it's a mono cable to the amplifier. We've got the power supply, which should be center negative. Just have a play around with all the knobs and check they all work. And just sort of test the touch pads. They work generally better when your fingers are sort of slightly moist, so not too moist, just a little bit. this switch is the power drain switch, so that's not actually an on-off, so that will just slowly drain power. And test that works. You hear kind of like draining power sound in there. And the other thing to mention is, like, when you test it, just don't test it on a metal surface. Make sure it's not metal, because metal will conduct electricity. Okay, the other thing to mention is that you can get rubber feet for them. When you get the rubber feet, you could search rubber feet and you might get like something like this. So these are usually the ones we use, but these are good as well. You just put them there, like anywhere that there's like a little gap or something, or with these ones you can kind of just put them over. And the other thing is that these holes here, 1, 2, 3, are so that you could potentially screw the synth down to like a piece of wood or something, or whatever. I think wood is usual, but you don't need the rubber feet. Like, you could just use it on as long as it's on a surface that is like not going to conduct electricity like metal, then it's okay. But I think people like having the feet so that it just kind of gives it like something to sit on.